Hey folks, how you doing? This is probably going to be a short one. No, not no 40 minutes. You know that last video that I uploaded that was about 40 minutes long? I uploaded that at 1, and when I got up at 6 to check in the morning, it was still uploading. That's why I don't do it. Don't try to problem solve for me, because it's just, you know, the way it is. Slow service. But online, a thing that's been going around, and I'm not participating, I'm going to do it my way, is people on Facebook have been challenging each other to show over 10 days 10 albums that have changed your life, are very influential. And I haven't been asked yet, but it's coming, and I'll probably pass. And I think what I'll do instead is just show some of them, because it's really hard for me to make a definitive 10 list, because there's so many different areas from which music has, you know, so many different parts of the musical scape mean so much to me. 10 records, it would change every 10 days if I were to look deeply, probably. But here are some that come to mind right away when I think about some of the most important records in my collection. First off, Genesis selling England by the pound. There's been times when it was between this and Lamb Lies Down, but this one, ultimately, emotionally and personal history, has the greater meaning. It's not a perfect album. It's just an album that the music, more than the words, Cinema Show in particular is one that has just brought so much emotion out of me, especially when I was younger, when I didn't understand what I was feeling. But this album, it just made things rise. I still love the music. It's some of the most beautiful music I've ever heard. This is one. I mentioned it in my last video, and I wasn't kidding. This is one of my all-time favorite albums of all time, Crossings by Herbie Hancock. I see that someone decided to try taking a trip with it with the lights out. I hope he had a good journey. I have to include this album, or at least something by them. I don't know if this is the right one, but I include this one because of the cover. This is the album that I first saw that turned me on to Amandul 2. I saw it in the record store. I'll never forget the moment. I was just a sophomore in high school. But this cover caught my attention. I couldn't afford it. I didn't own a copy of this record probably for another 10 to 15 years, but every time I saw it, it would just, you know, I'd have to stop and say, what, you know, look at that image. When I finally heard this album, to be honest with you, when I first heard it, I was disappointed, because by that point I was listening to a lot of jazz, progressive rock, and really well-made music, and these guys are not the best musicians. So it took a while for what they're really about and what they're doing to come through to me. I just love Amandul 2. Happy to say that the singer, Renat Knaup, is a long-distance friend of mine, and she'll just get a hold of me online and we'll talk politics, and she'll even share personal stuff with me. I love it, you know. Have to include Faust. Faust 4, maybe my favorite. Faust, the second, no, this is the first one I heard, and it's another one of those where I'll never forget the moment I heard it, and it was in Sioux City, Iowa, of all places, Uncle John's Records. This is an album that I can say helped to change the way that I hear music. It was probably on its way beforehand, having been exposed to John Cage and Steve Reich, but this album is one that made my jaw drop. I have to include Gong, because again, Gong was a band that I encountered as a teenager, and even though there's the humorous side to their music, there's the spiritual, deep aspect of their lyrics and the music, which helped me, seriously helped me to grow. Meeting David Allen is still, you know, one day I will be joining him on the other side. I'm glad I got to meet David before he died. Really important album. Another one, I could include a couple of their albums. Ege Bamyazi is the first one I heard, but this is the one that won me over, Tagomago. They're still influencing everything in music today, still. And yes, Noi. I used to have an original English pink cover copy of this. Stupidly sold it. This music is deceptively simple. Deceptive. It's brilliant. Freaking brilliant. So, if there's anyone that's out there going, what about, stop. This is my list.